You know him, you love him. Yes, it's time to say hi to David Heurtel. Hi, David.
Hi, Aaron.
Well, David, there's an election campaign going on. Go
hmm
figure, and it's going to last for 37 days. And I thought there's actually a couple of things I want to bring up here right now. First of all, before I even get into what was announced today, Mark Carney was asked about Donald Trump, right? And this is going to be an issue. I think we talked about this at the end of last week to see who Canadians think, anyway, feel can better handle Donald Trump. And that's either Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney. Listen to the question. I'm going to play part of the answer, and then tell me what you think.
With respect to the president, the president is waiting for the outcome of the election and see who has a strong mandate from Canadians, or who has a mandate from Canadians. Is it someone who is, to quote Daniel Smith, who's in sync with him, or is it someone who's going to stand up for Canadians? I'm going to stand up for Canadians. I hope Canadians will back me, and then we'll have a discussion. First, respect for our country as a sovereign nation. You would expect, given what these people have done and the long history, you would think respect and friendship for Canada. I'm just looking for respect. Secondly, given the scale of the U.S. trade actions against steel and aluminum, which is absolutely against the terms of CUSMA, given the series of other actions and the prospective actions on the 2nd of April, we need to have a comprehensive discussion with the Americans on the broader economic and, I would say, security partnership.
Okay, that's part of the answer, by the way, but I love that first part, which is first, it's about respect. Never mind the friendship part, it's about respect. Give me your reaction to that.
Well, I think so far Mark Carney has actually ticked all the right boxes. I mean, the first obvious step of an election campaign is the launch, and he's framed the question for Canadians very well. Is this a referendum on who can best handle Trump? Or is this, as Pierre Poilievre is trying to do with a lot of difficulty, is this a referendum on the Trudeau years? And what Carney is able to do with a tone that is very solemn. Now, by no means is this like a great speaker and great oratory, but he's doing it a very calm, intelligent, yet accessible way, framing the issue very clearly. And Canadians right now, if you follow the polls, are following him. What Canadians are worried about is who is best equipped to respond to Trump. And two, who will deal best with the economic uncertainty all of us are living in our everyday lives, whether it's inflation, fear for our jobs, fear for everything that has to do with the pocketbook. And so right now, step one, when you launch a campaign, you want to be able to come out of the gate clearly framing who you are and who the other side is. And that Mark Carney has done very well yesterday and today so far.
Okay, then let's move on and talk about Pierre Poilievre. The first thing out of the gate today, this was a surprise, a tax cut announced in your first day on a campaign, the 2.25%, and it applies to all Canadians. And I guess the argument could be made, it's certainly the one Jagmeet Singh made, but yes, it will help lower-income Canadians, but it's going to help everyone, no matter how much money you make.
Well, I think Pierre Poilievre coming out of the gate today with the tax cut shows how desperate the Conservatives are, because he needed something to define him very quickly. Mark Carney and the Liberals have been very good. Even before Mark Carney became leader, the Liberals have been very good at trying to mitigate or get rid of the more irritant issues. They dealt with immigration. Mark Carney dealt with the carbon tax. And Mark Carney yesterday announced a tax cut, which is even more surprising. I mean, you launch the campaign, your first day, your first major campaign speech, and you make a tax cut announcement preempting this announcement from Poilievre today. And basically what you're seeing Carney and the Liberals do here is taking away the economy from Poilievre, because Poilievre is trying to make this about the Trudeau years, saying, okay, high taxes, a lot of spending, a lot of waste, deficits. And Carney is preempting this and taking all these issues away. I mean, even the slogans. I mean, Canada Strong for Carney, Canada First for Poilievre, switching from axe to tax up until 3-4 weeks ago, and so the Carney moves so far are taking away all these different angles of attack and angles for Poilievre to define himself as the candidate of the economy for Canadians. And this will play particularly well in Ontario because, let's face it, Aaron, the battleground is yet again Ontario, seat-rich Ontario, and where the polling has shifted the most in the country. You mentioned the huge shift towards the Liberals over the last few months, but it's in Ontario. And the fact that Doug Ford will not commit to supporting Poilievre and the Conservatives in the federal election is huge. He that just won a massive majority in the provincial election a couple of weeks ago. And so by talking to pocketbook issues, Carney, yet again, is staying on message and taking away these issues from Poilievre.
So again, David, as I hear you say that, I think to myself, to what you just said, it's only day one.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, but it's day one of a very, very short campaign. Think about this. In just over 3 weeks, advanced polling is around the corner.
Yeah.
So this and what you want in this era of, nobody looks at platforms anymore. Remember back in the day of Jean Chrétien when he'd come out with the big red book and it was 100 pages long and there were policies on just about everything? The era of the big fat platforms is over. And it's about shaping the debate and first impressions that are rolling. What are we seeing from Carney? We're seeing a confident rollout, talking to people about real issues, talking the commercials that are running on CJAD. What are we talking about? We're talking about he was the guy that navigated through the '08 crisis in Canada. He navigated through Brexit when he was at the Bank of England. Now he's the guy to face Trump. And you have the Mike Myers commercial that again sets the tone, frames the debate, elbows up, Canada Strong. And that's where we are in modern communication. So it's just the beginning, and we don't know what's going to happen. There are always these incidents, but think about this. In 3 weeks, it's the debates, and then it's advanced polling. And so what you want to do is solidify and crystallize the lead that you have right now.
Yeah.
And that's the game plan for Carney. And Poilievre is still struggling to find his footing, as he has for the past 3-4 weeks.
What do you think, by the way, the decision by the Liberals not to get into that fast debate on TVA?
Mm-hmm. Smart move. I mean, and you discussed this with James earlier. I mean, first of all, there's always been this sort of, because everybody's so afraid of TVA and Québécois, there's always been two French debates, which is always bizarre. Well, there's only one English, right, for the rest of the country. Yeah. And so there's for Carney, yes, it's one less French debate, but also it's about making sure that he solidifies his lead in Quebec. And I think it's a smart move. There's going to be a French debate. It's not like you're taking away the French debate. And obviously, let's face it, he's going to be weaker. His French is not solid. And up against Poilievre, who is very good in French, and against Yves-François Blanchet, he's going to take some hits. So I think it is a smart move, and it's bizarre for Québécois to roll this out and charge $75,000 per party. Anyways, sure, he'll take a bit of a hit with the nationalist columnists in the Journal de Montréal and on TVA tomorrow, But I mean, it's not like those people were undecided. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there is that. And yes, in case people are wondering, you're right. There are still two debates, and one of them is French. That's the one on April 16th. I'm going to play part of a clip. I didn't want to do this, but then I just thought, now I kind of have to. I can't frame it any other way. Yves-François Blanchet, and by the way, we talk a lot about the NDP beginning to lose support, right? Mm-hmm. The Bloc is bleeding support as well because of what's going on now, right?
Yeah.
So I heard,
absolutely.
Yeah, I heard Yves-François Blanchet suggest today, because Pierre Poilievre talked about, cuts in spending and whatever else, and say this, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Here's his answer to that.
How the hell do you intend to do that? One of the parties says, we will cut the expenses. Okay, is it the right time to cut the expenses when the moment is more appropriate to support enterprise companies and jobs?
What?
And the other party says, we will cut expenses and we will cut taxes. There's no way on earth one can manage that.
Really?
You have to get more income to spend more. And if you do only cut and cut and cut, you will have to tell us where you will make those cuts. So it seems like instead of Mr. Carney convincing Mr. Poilievre to have a program, Mr. Poilievre has convinced Mr. Carney to have only slogans.
Okay, I look, I'm sorry here. To me, the idea of cutting, let's take one area, right? We talked about, consultants. There's almost $1 billion spent by the Liberal government on consultants. You'd think that would be a reasonable place to cut. I think maybe he got confused and meant spend, not cut.
Yeah, I think he is confused, and you were correct. I mean, one, Poilievre has lost his footing and is searching for it. The NDP is in clear disarray. I mean, right now they don't even have party status according to the polls, and the Bloc is bleeding support. And you have Yves-François Blanchet even saying, I mean, he said, you're never going to hear him talk about independence or separation. Right. Even our on the provincial side, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon said last week, just before the by-election in Terrebonne, just said, you know what? I was talking about a referendum right after the win in 2026. Well, now it's going to be 2630, and so the Bloc right now is trying to find a way to position themselves as, we're going to defend the cuts that would be made to Quebec, to programs that support Quebec, where there's no evidence of that.
But no one said that, right? Exactly.
No, absolutely. But again, right now the Bloc is in search of tracking of an issue, just like Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon. Remember, the polling showed up until this massive switch towards the Liberals federally, but the polling showed provincially. Remember, 30% of Quebecers support the PQ, but a third of that support is Federalist. So let's remember this, and so this will have a direct impact. And right now, the combination of the Bloc losing support and the NDP losing support, that is all going to the Liberals in Quebec, and that's why they have a huge lead right now in Quebec.
Yeah, it seems Yves-François Blanchet, Dave, can't hit the curve. I think that's the issue.
Well, he just can't, because if he can't talk about independence and he doesn't have language, immigration,
what's left?
There's nothing left. And it's kind of like 2011 all over again. The Jack Layton wave. It's like the Bloc, every few cycles, the Bloc just, at some point, they're just out of ideas. Yeah. They're out of anything to enthrall Quebecers.
David Heurtel. David, thank you so much. Appreciate it.